From the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Lite podcast. Studio 665 presents Masonic Lite podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons, and is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering. This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
And it starts.
The eyes are watering.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 123.
124.
Still on the air.
Hard to believe.
100 episodes, I think we're syndicated now.
Yeah.
This is when we get the real money.
Yeah. Residuals.
Yeah,
That usually means something else for most
We're
of
like
us.
Marianne and the professor.
Yeah, right.
So we have a special guest. He is, I think, our most common guest. Not you're common, but I mean,
common.
He's pretty common. Frequent?
most frequent guest. So,
a reference anyway.
Yeah.
Welcoming Chief Bill Harvey, retired in Appomattox, Virginia.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing.
Careful.
He
We know his resume.
He was a chief in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, Lebanon County, Pennsylvania Dutch. And he came over here to Ephrata and was chief here for many years, another part of Pennsylvania Dutch territory, which is close to the city of Gettysburg. And he moves to Appomattox.
No, I was born and raised in Appomattox.
That's thus the accent.
That's how that happened. Okay.
Thus the accent.
So
He's still alive, yes.
it wasn't an act of vengeance. Okay.
No, by no means. I was born and raised here. I left at the age of 19, said I'd never return. I've learned to say now, never say never.
Yeah.
And had to return here to tend to some family issues, shall we say. So, yeah, I did it the exotic way. I left Appomattox, went in the Army, ended up in Savannah, Georgia, retired from there, went to Lebanon City, then went to Ephrata, and then I was more or less forced to come back here. But I'm here and having fun and doing Masonic things in Virginia and doing it Virginia style, which is a little bit different.
Just a little.
And all this time, I thought you were a Gitchy. Mistake.
All right, so Bill,
I'm not Geechee, no.
Bill, you know the routine. We're going to go around and say what we've been up to lately. So I'll start with Jack today, just because he looks like he's not ready.
No, I actually, where is it?
Calendar.
I can't get to our post. No.
Unlock.
No, I'm not doing the calendar thing.
Facial image.
That's a complete cop-out to your calendar. Anyway, so couple of things. We had an A&D meeting, which is always fantastic. I had Masonic mentoring, Masonic education that I do with the people at our lodge. That's always fun. But I think the highlight of the last, 3-4 weeks for me was when I looked at the Masonic Lite podcast Facebook page, and I see a picture of the Grand Lodge officers of the state of Washington. And the Grandmaster Bailey of Washington State is wearing a jewel of the Digital Order of Knights Quarantine.
That's great.
I love this guy initially, just from that, and then we sent him a message, and he said, "Love to be on the show." So we will be reaching out to Grandmaster Bailey about what it's like to be a Mason in Washington. So other than that,
and a digital night of the quarantine.
And a digital night, absolutely. And we're about to go into that darkness again.
Yeah.
Right. Larry.
Yeah. What have I been? What have I been doing? Let me see. We had a lodge meeting last night.
We did.
Not much went on there, right?
We had an executive board meeting for Tall Cedars. That was fun. Goose and Gridiron. I haven't been there in the past 2 weeks. Can't say that. So that's pretty much it. hanging
Not
around.
been doing much, have you?
Not a lot.
Sometimes you just gotta
Chill out.
I think he's saving. I think he's saving the thunder for Josh.
All right. So for me, last night I made an appearance at my mother lodge where they were dumb enough to take me back as a dual member. You could see the faces on some of these old guys just kind of.
What have we done?
No, it's biblical, Pete. He rejoiceth more for the one that went astray.
And Jake was telling me, like, you just got in, now you got to come in hot and just start telling them all your feelings about the potential merger and just like
that would be Jake.
Yeah, I said, no, I'll be quiet on my first night back. And what about you, Mr. Josh?
Well, like Larry said, did you say it? We had stated meeting. And that was an eventful evening. Larry is I'm sure we mentioned this before, the chairman of our merger committee, and we're currently discussing a potential merger with another lodge. And he gave his initial recommendation for the continuation of that. I guess it's funny.
So
the continuation vote.
No, he's choking.
So in our private Facebook group, Larry was kind of bitching that he's got a lot of work to do before this meeting, and he showed me all this photo with all these pictures all over his counter, or these piles of paperwork. And so then he shows up at Lodge last night, and Josh was calling for committee reports, and I guess Larry didn't realize his committee is a committee. So he wasn't ready yet, but he fumbled. He had two folders, each with about 3/4 of an inch of paper in each one. And he walks up to his lectern, and he sets all these papers down in separate piles. Then he fumbles with his microphone, and he gives his report. And basically his report was, I really have nothing to say. Tonight we need is the vote so that we can talk about it. And like, what?
What you didn't know is that each one of those pages in there was a letter that made one sentence, and it had to be full page letters for him to see.
So yeah, he had all this preparation to give this message that all this vote will do is to decide if we want to move forward in the more discussion. And that was it. Like, you needed all that paper for that.
It was an exciting night.
That's the vote that allows us to get down to details and work out the real nitty-gritty to come up with a final presentation.
And stop you liberals from spending so much money.
I'm not a liberal.
Can you figure out who gets Crimea? That's all I want to know.
Timmy, what have you been up to?
Got your calendar?
Yeah. So actually, pretty much Masonically, other than my what wasn't Masonic, I went to my 41st high school reunion and came back with some libations.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. But Masonically, last night, Eureka West Shore Lodge number 302 had just a fantastic stated meeting to come back from the summer. We began with a table lodge where we had about 40 people in attendance. And some
alcohol.
I'm not going to mention that, but basically we had a dispensation for folks to bring their own beverage, which was nice. We then had kilt night, in which we had...
Who got killed?
Nobody got killed. We all made it out alive. Several of the brethren who owned kilts and were brave enough to dare wore their kilts to the lodge. And you check out our Facebook post, you can see, or our page, you can see photo evidence of the evening. It was a fantastic evening. It's something that our worshipful master, Kenneth B. Robinson, has been looking forward to for 2020 and 2021. So a good night was had by all. I warned them ahead of time that the longest meeting of the year for a secretary is always the September meeting, because you've got all these communications over the summer, and then we had a bunch of guys die, and so you had those honorarium things to read, and we had a great night. It was an awesome meeting, one of my favorite meetings in a long, long time.
Josh, how come we had no news to read about? Our secretary just blew through everything, and Like no communications 3 months? Okay, Rob.
I think you got the communications early and you read them in June.
Oh, okay, that must be the... Chief Harvey, what have you been up?
Headphones. Look, he's got headphones on.
Hey!
Does that help now?
Yeah, it does help.
Okay, great.
You look very hip, dude. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
What have you done Masonically in the past little while?
Oh, my goodness. Well, since I have moved back to Appomattox, I'm transferred at, of course, 665 to Monroe Lodge 301, named after James Monroe. Since then, I have taken over the secretary's position of that.
God bless you.
God bless. And on top of that, also have a dual membership with Trailer Lodge 348 in Lynchburg, which is a daylight lodge.
Trailer Lodge is like a mobile home. It's that small.
No, it was named after a past master.
Very small.
Yeah, but no, I'll be taking secretary over for that. Gotten involved again with the shrine with Kazem Temple out of Roanoke, but we have a Lynchburg Shrine Club. The last time I was the only time I've been back to PA in the last 6 months was we had a roadrunner trip bringing a patient up to the Philadelphia Shrine Hospital. It was a in and out, but it was very rewarding to be what they call a roadrunner, where you drive the children to the hospital and back there, of course, with their guardian and such.
Awesome.
And a little bit of Scottish Rite stuff. We're having a lot of fun. Trying to learn the Virginia Masonic way. Having spent most of my time Masonically in Georgia and then became enlightened in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Jack.
Where we do it right.
Yeah.
I will say that a lot of the ceremony here is a wee bit different and not as formal.
What's your dress code?
Right now, what we do is we see some of the guys coming in jeans and a polo shirt, with, the lodge polo shirt on there. No coat and tie regulations. They did request people to wear a coat and tie when we had a district deputy show up for his annual inspection and pomp and circumstance. But the officers here do not own a tuxedo. I know that's...
What? Do you need a GoFundMe or...
But one thing I've also, too, visiting throughout Central Virginia lodges, some of the rural country lodges, it is really, really laid back. I fulfilled a promise, Jack. My uncle, who was one who started me in Masonry, he told me years ago, back in 79, he says, all I ask you to do is go sit in my lodge one night. So I had to drive out through the inner bowels of Central Virginia and go to Cumberland Lodge. And
you were way out there.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
And
building,
anyway.
It's the one downtown that you can see from the highway?
Well, it's right on the highway above an antique store that they rent to. It was very rustic, shall we say. I'm trying to be nice. But learning the Virginia ways and having a lot of fun doing it. So it's also good to be back at the Scottish Rite in the southern jurisdiction. But
Chief Harvey, I have a question for you. How long did it take for your transfer to complete to your Virginia Lodge?
It took a bit of a ways because being a secretary in Georgia, and it kind of helped them expedite things. Some people call them plural, some people call them dual. Each states have different terms for what it causes to move transfers and such. Luckily, when I called, we couldn't figure out what we were doing, so I called the secretary in Georgia, grand secretary. And, of course, he knew me, and turned out he was a former student of mine when I used to teach throughout the state of Georgia in law enforcement. And he's like, hey, I know you. I know what you want. I got you covered. And it was done like in 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So, it goes back to relationships and, remembering people and such. It's a good thing. It's kind of like when you go to Ephrata and you tell everybody, Larry, and, see what gets for you, So,
won't get you much in Ephrata.
Right.
Well, Chief, keep us posted. We'd love to come visit you at Trailer Lodge. Let us know if you're having the double wide degree anytime soon.
Well, I've always wondered why they never had 2-story mobile homes, for people with money.
Yeah.
You have to call it a tinaminium, I think, if you had the second.
Tinaminium.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and speak with our guest, Chief Harvey. We'll be right back.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. From planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com. Hey, everybody, we're back with Chief Bill Harvey, retired.
Scared me, Larry.
Bill, it's so good to have you on the show. You and I have been communicating on and off since the big move. And tell us a little bit. One of the things you asked me was, what should we talk about? And one of the suggestions I had was, let's talk about the edict that took place in South Carolina from the Grand Lodge. I think it was about, 4 or 5 months ago?
Correct.
And that had to do with, I don't know if you looked this up or not.
Yes, I did.
It had to do with the right to be able to carry inside of a lodge. Now, by carrying, I mean a firearm. So you as a retired police chief, what do you think about that?
As you recall, and some of you were my, I will say, students when I did the active shooter programs there in Ephrata, I have a problem with a lot of this. And let me just say it this way. Let's imagine we're in a lodge setting. Jack is the treasurer. I'll be the secretary. We'll make Pete the worshipful master. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
So, anyway, Larry, you're going to be the
Meeting
top.
adjourned.
And here's the problem. If you grant holistically everybody can carry a firearm, we don't know who sees what. And then all of a sudden I look up from my desk and I see a movement or furtive movement of someone getting ready to brandish a firearm. Now I'm getting ready to engage that person, whether I know them or not. I got a problem with not knowing who the players are. In other words, if you're going to do this, and some houses of worship will do this, they will say when you check in today, check in, say, in the narthex with one of the stewards or whatever, ushers, and say, I'm carrying today. And a lot of times they will place you tactically, one to the left, one to the right, to prevent crossfires or someone behind the other person and such as that. But just to make a wide open statement says if you got guns and you're a CCW, you can still carry weapons.
Is that what that edict said, though? Because I thought it was specifically that there was a limited number of people that were pre-approved by the...
There were some people were pre-approved.
Yeah.
But there are some people also, too, taking this as like saying everybody can do it. No, I think it's a bad idea.
It specifically doesn't say that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're correct. Those who are approved, I questioned a few things. Number one, when was the last time they trained? Have they trained collectively together and had to engage someone? Because if, you engage someone, Jack, with a firearm, and then, let's say your weapon goes dry, you've missed him all those times, then I need to know when to engage. Or, have they been trained in other group techniques?
When I stop screaming, that would be the time to engage.
Correct. Now, what they have done now, one thing I did not read in the edict that I did find out, in Virginia, there was an edict a couple of years ago that said that the worshipful master can appoint someone to that is either a CCW, concealed carry, or a LEOSA, a Law Enforcement Safety Act, someone who's certified by LEOSA, or current law enforcement officer, they are allowed to carry, but it is that they are appointed by the worshipful master. Okay. Then there's a caveat, and here's why I like that. The caveat they had in Virginia was, if you are going to be the concealed carry, you cannot be engaged in any floor work with candidates, etc. And that makes total sense, because you can imagine going through ritual if someone became frightened and they would, feel, say, a firearm underneath the jacket or the tux or whatever, I got to get out of here. Maybe this is something to grab, in a panic state. I totally agree with that.
Didn't this happen a couple of years ago in New York?
That was a side degree that, it was
somebody was supposed to have a play gun or something.
And it was a real gun. It was like, called it the Fellowcraft Club, and it was definitely not approved.
I remember hearing about that.
So, but the thing of it is, I don't understand, some respects having the CCWs inside. I would make sure that the Tyler was well heeled, if anybody, because they got to get through the Tyler first. And I don't know if that sword's going to cut it. The thing of it is,
who's the little guy at 43?
I think Reno from our lodge.
Oh, is it Lambert? Yeah, Reno. Yeah.
So here's a question, Bill.
It'd be and Reno's gone. He's out.
Bill, if you had to arm a Tyler, what firearm would you give him? Should he have like an M6, like something like formidable, like an M60, or maybe just something real small, like a Derringer?
Well, my thing is this: once everybody has come in and the lodge is has been tiled, I don't see a problem with locking the exterior doors to make sure nobody comes in, comes through a back door, comes back through the dining hall, depending on how it's laid out. Secure yourself in. That would be perfect sense. A lot of churches do that now. If 5 minutes after they say "Welcome, brethren," they lock the doors.
We do that in Ephrata now.
And I don't find that to be a problem. Again, to me, anytime that you give anybody permission to carry a firearm and to be the protector, of this organization, I mean, if you have not made sure that they have been trained or physically capable of doing things, you're going to be in a legal quandary if they do have a problem or do get into something, whether justified or not. So you cannot have this omission. So it requires due diligence on any organization, I feel, to have someone to have training certifications. And when I say trainings, to me, one thing we need to do Masonically, I think, is have some group trainings, to build a fraternity. I see nothing wrong with having, first aid, CPR, stop the bleed training, for the brethren and their wives. It's a good team building sport.
Especially if Larry's coming to your lodge.
That would be helpful.
Is really important.
That's right. Chief, one of the stated purposes that was given in South Carolina was to protect the building from possible, mischief during protests and so on, as well as protect someone coming, protect the lodge from someone coming into the building. And in a previous episode, we had this conversation, and I think my thoughts that I expressed at that time were in line with what you just said, which was, if that's your purpose, then put these guys on the outside of the lodge.
Correct.
Whether it's the Tyler or, if guys really want to, if you want to station some folks out in the parking lot, that's fine too.
There have been some, I know down in Tidewater, Virginia, in the Norfolk area, they had a couple of lodges that had some damage and burglaries. I get that. The thing of it is, if you go inside the mind of somebody who is demented, and they look at, they said, I want to attack a church or whatever. Under my tenure, when I was in Ephrata, we had a couple of church services that were actually interrupted by a couple of wacko in each one, just as a single perpetrator. And it was handled well by the churches. They handled themselves well. But if you've got someone who is demented and they they don't know religion, but they have been looking at the History Channel too much, and they see Freemasonry, and they know we're trying to take over the world one spaghetti dinner at a time. So, they may think this is something worthy of an attack. I get that. So, I mean, we have to, like I said, protect ourselves. I think it was in either Philadelphia or New York, the original purpose of the Ancient Order of the Hibernians, which is a Catholic organization, AOH, which is sometimes referred to as America's Only Hope, they will tell you that their first rules were to protect the churches from anti-Catholic. So, I mean, it's kind of historically, it's spinning around. I always told people, while you said on the perimeter of the thing, I always say this, when Lodge is coming in and Lodge is going out, I think it's important to have a couple of guys maybe out front. And like when I was at Effort 665, a couple of the guys were out smoking. I get that. That's a good thing, having a cigarette before they go in. But I also, too, think it's important, too, when people are leaving and departing, that there's a couple of guys watching to make sure, especially some of our seniors, can get across the street. And we did have somebody in Effort, if you recall, got hit by a car, or slip and fall, like during, snow or whatever. I mean, we need to be guardians of our brethren, not after they come to the door, but before they get to the door, and also to make sure they make it safely to their car to get out. So I think the perimeter is important. I see nothing wrong with a lodge having a couple of the members on the outside standing there and make sure someone doesn't fall or be accosted. So it's just common sense.
All good stuff. It's just a shame that there's lodges that can't even get all the officers in the chairs, let alone people on the perimeter to guard the outer door. Absolutely, absolutely. But also too, I think too, when lodges have a good relationship too with law enforcement, I felt that under my tenure, because the nights that I had to work and could not come in, I would tell whoever was riding that beat, tonight is a lodge night, keep an eye on everybody. Usually it was O'Hanlon who would come by and check on everybody. He's a good guy. He should have been inside anyway, yeah.
Yeah, he should have been, but he was working too. And the lodge I'm in here, I think about a third of them are retired state troopers. So we have a good relationship with law enforcement, and that's a good thing for all of organizations to do, is know your first responders and all. And so at least they know when you're active and what goes on there.
Sure.
Yeah. One quick question before we take a break. What'd you think of that Georgia Clemson game last Saturday?
Oh dear God. Well, I don't know how they got Georgia ranked so high, but if you recall, when I left in 2019, that's who I worked part-time for Louisiana State University. Go Tigers. And after our horrific loss, the only thing selling faster in Louisiana than generators is LSU tickets. So,
ouch. All right, so we're going to take a quick break and come back with a little game that we've created, that Pete's created, just for you, Chief.
Oh, goody.
At the Historic Smithton Inn of Ephrata, Pennsylvania, we're pleased to serve the latest creations from Weathered Vineyard Winery, along with spirits from Thistlefinch Distillery in Lancaster, all to be experienced in the tasting room of a beautifully restored 18th century bed and breakfast. Cigars by D&S Cigar are available for your enjoyment in the courtyard. The Historic Smithton Inn is convenient to Lancaster County's most interesting attractions. Just minutes from the Ephrata Cloister and the Green Dragon Farmers Market. And a short drive can get you to charming Lidditz, thriving downtown Lancaster, as well as Hershey, Bird in Hand, and Intercourse. Or Valley Forge and Gettysburg. Whether you're looking for a romantic getaway or an active vacation full of sightseeing and attractions, the Historic Smithton Inn will be a welcoming oasis from everyday life. One that you'll want to visit again and again. Stop in and visit at 900 West Main Street in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, or check out our website at historicsmithtoninn.com, or simply call us at 717 733-6094. Just ask for Pastmaster Dave. And welcome back to another episode of Stump the Cop! Yay! We have with us retired Chief Harvey, William Harvey, who is living now in Appomattox, Virginia. And our host for the night is the lovely and talented Pete Ruggieri.
Chief Bill, thanks for coming on. I'm glad to see that Virginia finally got the internet.
Thank you, too.
So, no, I was thinking about some really tough police kind of trivia. You know, I only played around in that venue for a year, but I had some experiences that I think maybe you might know the right answer to. So if you have an intersection and that intersection happens to be the border of 4 municipalities, and there's an auto accident right dead center in the intersection, how do you determine whose jurisdiction that should be?
Whoever created the causative action, whoever would be the ones who would have the violation is the way I've always looked at it.
Wrong. Whatever police officer happens to be the newest gets stuck with the accident. It doesn't even matter where it happened.
Right. You see the rightness of this now, right?
Yes, I do.
It's kind of like the turtle degree.
Yeah. Now, number 2, you're working night shift, and you see off in the distance that there may be a fire somewhere. And when you get there, you are the first one on the scene, and you notice that there is a structure fire. What is your first care?
To call it in properly and to have the firefighters drive the BRTs, big red trucks, to get them over there right away, and then try to assist anybody with evacuation. Okay.
Do not park in front of the residence, because the fire trucks will park you in. When your shift ends at 7 a.m., your sergeant's still laughing and say, well, you can punch out when you get back to the station at noon. Yeah, so.
Can I admit to one?
Yes, please do.
If you recall when we had the large fire at the Green Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
I came in on that call later and parked up the street. Well, because they had such a need for water and it kept bringing in more hoses, when I went back, I was locked in. So, being the chief, I had somebody take me home. Then I had the officer.
Okay,
see, we're right.
That's an alternate correct answer.
Yes.
I left the keys with someone, and I said, when the hoses are pulled up, bring this to my house.
It's good to be chief.
It is.
Yeah, when your title's patrolman, like trainee, you don't get those options. So.
Next question.
Oh, I didn't come up with 3.
Oh, you gotta have 3 questions.
This is masonry. There has to be.
It has to be 3.
All right, I'll just quickly think back to something dumb that I did. You know.
Oh, give the
You also don't want to park in front of the hydrant unless you want the hose to go through your vehicle.
The judge's son.
Oh, yeah, I did have a 3rd one. Okay. So you're on duty and you see a car swerving and you pull them over because you suspect they may be drunk. And lo and behold, the driver is obviously drunk. But you happen to notice he's the son of a local, the head of the county county courts. What do you do?
Technically, I would treat him just like any individual. I knew that was coming.
Negative. You just have your sergeant drive him directly back to his father's house, make him ring the doorbell, and he deal with it himself.
Oh, thanks for playing.
And thanks for playing our game.
Do we have consolation prizes?
What do I win? Please
We
tell
have
me.
some of the witnesses, Johnny.
Please tell me some olive loaf.
Yeah. 2 pounds of olive loaf. Or maybe an olive loaf stromboli.
Second prize is 1 pound of olive.
Oh.
That reminds me of a story about an Arkansas state trooper.
Oh.
You want me to wait till the end of the show to tell that one? Or?
Go ahead. Do it.
Do it.
You're already there. You got one.
Do it. Okay. This Arkansas state trooper stops a motorcycle rider alongside the highway, walks up to him and said, "Sir, do you know you were speeding?" And the motorcycle driver said, "No, I didn't. I really didn't." And the officer said, "What's your name, sir?" He said, "Fred." He said, "Okay, what's your last name?" He said, "I'm just Fred." So the officer's feeling magnanimous that day, and he said, "I'm going to have some fun. I'm just going to write this guy up a citation. I'm not going to give him a ticket." So he said, "You got to tell me your last name." So the motorcycle driver, he's saying, "Well, I'll tell you what. My full name was Fred Johnson." He said, "I studied hard in high school. I went to college. I went to medical school, got top grades, got my residency. Was a practicing physician for years, and I was Fred Johnson, MD." He says, "Then I got tired of that." He said, "So I decided to go to dental school. I did the same thing. I studied hard, got certified, and became a dentist. So I became Fred Johnson, DDS, Doctor of Dentistry." He says, "Then I went and I unfortunately got VD." He said, "Then things began to happen." He says, "First, the American Dental Association found out I had VD and they revoked my license. So I was just Fred Johnson, MD." He says, "Then the AMA found out I had VD and they revoked my license. So then I was just Fred Johnson, except VD took care of my Johnson. I'm just now Fred."
Well, moving right along.
I've checked out. Drive the bus.
Oh, well.
Do we need to regroup?
I think so.
All right.
Let's
Thought it
send
was good
Larry-
at dinner tonight.
Let's send Larry to the potty, and we'll be back in just a minute.
As far back as the mid-1800s, records exist describing the pre-meeting tradition of brethren smoking cigars during and after gatherings. To this day, the practice of smoking cigars remains very much alive in many lodges. This custom is considered a time for brethren to relax, exchange ideas, and enjoy the simplicity and fellowship that is the very essence of our brotherhood. This is what Hiram Solomon Cigars is all about. Our starting principles are to bring Masonic brethren together in the harmony of a good cigar. Pull up a chair, sit back, light up any of our premium cigars, and enjoy the history. Hiram Solomon Cigars can be found at fine cigar retailers. For a complete list, visit HiramandSolomonCigars.com or check them out on social media to find out when they'll be at a live event near you. Hiram Solomon Cigars is pleased to be the official cigar of the Masonic Lite podcast.
In Masonic news today, Freemasonry has once again aired its dirty laundry all over the internet, as somehow it has become acceptable to publish the proceedings of grand bodies on said internet. A recent panty twisting was created when one grand body decided to undo the doings of a previous administration, and the whole thing ended with one grand officer being dismissed and all sorts of good public relations happening on the web. All about something that affects about 500 Masons worldwide. Why are appendant bodies shrinking? Gee, I wonder.
It's cold outside.
That's the Masonic news. So motive words.
Oh, my word.
Wow.
Send your cards and letters to Jack Harley.
Hey, no names were
Walter
Walter Marley.
Oh,
Walter Marley.
In the state of New York.
That stuff does not need to be on the internet. I don't care who you are.
Right.
That stuff is private business and does not need to be on the internet.
Yes.
What is the matter with you people?
Right.
Stop it. Okay.
Here, here.
Agreed.
That's my rant.
Agreed.
Don't you know you're supposed to publicly disavow everybody?
Only after you no longer agree with them.
Right.
Uh-oh, we lost the chief.
Bill.
There he is.
Bill's gone.
No, I'm here.
You're there. He's
just
there.
lost him on
we got
the,
the sound. We just lost your picture.
The real TV.
Actually, we just.
So too much, too heavy, too bad?
No, it was just the
Tough
cable
luck.
That's
here.
fine.
He's
That's
good.
No.
That's good.
Wrong.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're ready to wrap up the show here. What do you all got coming up in the next couple of weeks, Josh?
Well, we're going to be. I'm going to be having Larry continue the merger committee discussions. He's doing a great job. I'm going to be pursuant for Lodge in the Woods.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jack. Do you want?
No, step on it. Go. Go.
Yeah, I'm going to be pursuant for Lodge in the Woods, and I get to introduce Past Master Moyer, who's not Past Master Moyer.
Who?
Yeah, I don't know who
You
that
know a guy?
He's Deputy Grand Marshal.
Yeah, a guy
Deputy Grand
used to do stuff for the show back in the old days.
I vaguely remember that name.
I wonder if he sells a phone.
He doesn't call in anymore, does he?
No.
He doesn't go to Brad. He just disavowed himself because he's Moyer's up here.
He's in the rarefied air now.
All right, Pete, how about
I think
you?
he's got his 35th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what do I have going on? Well, when I get home, I just got a message from our junior deputy Grand Tall Cedar saying, "Are you ever going to cash that check I wrote you in May?"
Pete's like, what?
And here's the bad secretary thing. I'm like, oh well, I'll look in my folder when I get home for the
Hey, leave secretaries alone.
because any money I collected that night, I think I just tucked into my I just left it in my portfolio in my Tall Cedars milk crate. And so yeah, I probably ought to get that in the bank.
Milk crate? Is that a Gap thing?
Yeah, that's
no,
a
you're
Gap
supposed
thing.
to build a big pyramid and run up the thing. And
Oh, okay.
I have in my bar, I have a ghetto white trash, whatever you want to call it, bookshelf. I've got 16 milk crates, and each one I use for a different Masonic body. So anything that's grotto related goes in the grotto one. Scottish Rite, and I don't know. About once a month when I go through my mail, I look like I'm in a mail room somewhere just stuffing stuff into different mailboxes. But it does help when I need something. I can find it. Yeah.
Great.
See?
Chief,
go ahead.
go ahead. You go ahead.
No, never mind.
All right. Chief Harvey, how about you? What do you got coming up?
Well, next week I leave for several days in Myrtle Beach at the South Atlantic Shrine Association. And so we will have the Shriners from Virginia all the way down to Florida and some out in, I think, Tennessee, Kentucky. They're all going to be at Myrtle Beach. It should be a grand old time.
Isn't there a song about that?
Yeah.
Ray, what's his name?
Ray Stevens.
Ray Stevens.
But there is a Hayhira, Georgia, but they do not have a temple there.
Don't be too surprised, Chief, if you get some knocks on your door from some of the South Carolina brothers.
Oh, tell them come see us.
There you go.
I think we have 2 listeners in South Carolina.
All right. Larry, what do you got coming up besides merger work?
Well, I generally don't like to talk about that, but I guess work on the committee and
Goose and
Goose and
Gridiron?
Gridiron, Tall Cedars. I'm busy.
Here's a new segment, Larry. Larry, what medical
Or appliance.
what appliances are you going to be getting installed this month?
There we go.
None on the calendar.
We could have a discussion every month of which one of us is going to have more doctor's appointments.
He's got parts falling off. Oh my God.
Oh, Jack, what do you got going on?
I've got this week, Tuesday is stated meeting. That'll be the day after this drops, about, plus or minus. And then when Lodge ends on Tuesday, We break it down and we throw it all in a big y'all hall. That's for Chief Harvey, a y'all hall.
A y'all hall.
We put it in a y'all hall and carry it up to Camp Mac for Lodge in the Woods. So we're going to set up on Wednesday morning and Lodge meeting Wednesday night and tear it all down and throw it back in the truck and drive home. So it should be a good time.
Oh, I do have one other thing. In case we release this really early Monday morning, you may have a chance to catch me Monday night as I'll be in the city of York, Pennsylvania, former capital of the United States. I will be there conferring the Yellow Dog degree on some York tall cedars. So I'm reopening the Lancaster Kennel, and we're going to make some new Yellow Dog Masons. So.
Great. So next week's going to be very busy for me. On Monday night, Samuel C. Perkins Royal Arch Chapter is conferring the Mark Master degree, and I'll be part of that cast doing that, conferring that degree. On Thursday night, I am the featured speaker at Robert Burns Lodge in Harrisburg. It's going to be an interesting conversation there. Look forward to spending time with the brethren. Let's see. The following week...
You're featured because of what?
Well, because I'm on the program to be their speaker.
Oh.
Lodges have programs.
Just that awesome.
Yeah.
At Richard Burns Lodge.
Richard Burns, yeah.
This isn't because
Robert Burns.
This isn't because of Masonic Lite podcast.
No, it's
George Burns.
No, I'm going to be talking about ways of life as told through the charges of our Masonic degrees. In other words, a guide to our actions. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's too heady for this.
Yeah. So,
Same here.
next Saturday week, the 25th, Eureka West Shore Lodge is having its 165th anniversary banquet. We're looking forward to that, where the D. Malay group will be presenting the Flower Talk as part of the program. So we're looking forward to that as well. And that's about it before we return to the studio. So I'll be still helping lots of secretaries in their transition over to Grandview. Should ask Chief Harvey, do you all use Grandview in Virginia?
They're transitioning.
No, we have our own portal, which is a sight to behold.
Oh, okay.
Nobody likes their software.
Yeah.
Nobody ever likes their software.
That's right.
But I can tell you this, when I was a secretary in Georgia back in the early 80s, that was pre-computer days, so it was all done by hand. So as frustrating as working on a portal, sometimes it is so much better. You can't beat it as far as going back to the old handwork days.
Yeah. I had to go back because some member data didn't transfer properly as to dates of their degree conferral. And so I had to go back into our minutes books to find out the date of their degrees and who conferred them so that I could update their records. Those minute books, though, were spectacular. People could actually handwrite, and you could read it.
Legibly,
And I've actually, on my desk in the office at Eureka West Shore Lodge, literally I've got stacks of minutes books going back to the founding of the lodge in 1850, whatever. So, yeah, it's amazing to be able to look at those. All right, well, let's get out of here. Josh, cue those chickens. Larry, wake up.
Wake up.
Oh, gee, totally forgot. Did I tell you about the Arkansas State Trooper?
You did. You did.
Well, special thanks to Effort Lodge 665 for allowing us to continue to be here. They haven't found out yet, have they? Special thanks also to our producer-director, Josh Lamberton. And to Jack Harley, our news director. Tim Dedman, our marketing director.
Oh, no.
Michelle Snyder and Doug Maddenford, our Masonic Lite contributors, who do a great job. And did I tell you about that Arkansas State Trooper? I did?
Jeff Moyer, call in.
Jeff Moyer. Hey, Moyer, we haven't heard from you in a long time. Is it true that you're in rehab? Give us a call, please. This is Larry saying good night.
This is Tim.
Pete, good night.
This is Josh.
Dum, ba-dum, ba-dum.